Thank you for inviting me, Greg. I think Greg's story is important. It's important because he didn't understand or go through or experience hormone therapies until he encountered a significant health issue, right? And we had to search deeply. This is not something that he was going through that could be over the counter and not a typical doctor would have dealt with. So he went deeper and he found an excellent lab and doctors who cared not about what the book said, but what his body was saying. And that's really what I'm about. I've been doing this for 30 years and I do clinical nutrition, I do chiropractic, I do body work. I love it, but it really is how individual can you make it? You know, how can you understand who you're working with rather than, hey, you'll fit somebody else's model. I did it really good last week with this person, maybe I should try it on you. That the model doesn't work. I think we should demand that kind of specificity in the future of healthcare. Anyway, this is a opportunity for me to use a laser. Okay, I call this a brief concepts guide for health and hormones. Anybody who's gone through biochemistry realizes, you know, the study of hormones is really not singular. It's so interconnected and complex. Oh my gosh, wow. There's biochemistry, there's so many pathways, it's boggling, but it's true, it's there. So this is a concepts guide. We're going to go over the individual hormones that the lab will do. I'm a big fan of this particular lab, being an applied kinesiologist. The AK docs, most of them are chiropractors, some of them are MDs, some of them are dentists, but what we do is we do lots of energetic studies to determine what their body is needing. So we do lots of kinesiology tests, we look at organ points, it's almost like Asian medicine, that kind of idea. So it's very energy based, I love it. But with this particular lab, this specificity and the accuracy is amazing. On a personal note, my wife's been under treatment, and I saw within a week just amazing changes deeply to her actions, personality that she wouldn't even recognize. But I've been married, and I know when she's in a good mood and a bad mood. So it really is powerful. So you know, I started like I do like a concept or conversation. So you know, why should I care about hormones? Well, the obvious thing is, you know, they're really important. I say it's defining your life by instructing your cells, your home, what to do. Right? I try to make everything practical. It's really instructions. What I mean by that is not everyone may know just because you eat a food, it doesn't mean it does anything. Right? So the body can select. You can take some wonderful herbal products, but your body actually can it can choose not to react to an herb. That's why some vitamins, some herb formulas, I just don't get anything from it. Your body is that smart. It doesn't have that ability with the hormone. It will do exactly what it says it will do. It forces the DNA to write. Wrote it here. Yeah. This kind of is really important. Very few things will do DNA, RNA writing. That means it gets inside that cell and tells that cell what to do. And it'll do it. It's at the same level as a pharmaceutical. Pharmaceuticals will order the cells. Cortisol will order a cell. It will. It just won't. It'll do it. And very few substances will. So hormones are powerful messages. They instruct the body what to do. You know, we've got metabolism influencing the mitochondria, so your energetics, it's right there. And this is one of the things we're going to focus on today, is stress response. Survival skills in case of bad weather. This is like a home, so this is your home's construction. This is your energy needs. This is survival, bad things happening to the home. This is stress response. Stress response is the key to understand why we need, at times, hormone supplementation, right? So you'll get to where I'm going, because I sort of think everyone needs to eventually, because I'm going to try to perhaps persuade you tonight. Blood sugar, surviving bad weather, reproduction, immune support, brain function. As you can see, you guys probably know, hey, they're really important, but why should I even think about it now? So the question might be, yeah, it's good. So what's the problem? Well, here's the problem with the hormones. They shift and change. All kinds of things, including age, nutritional stresses, movement stresses, toxic stresses, physical, mental stresses. Just being a modern human will affect what your hormones are playing out. It's that complicated, and it's that beautifully arranged in this miraculous body. And of course, I think all of us could agree, we don't want this acceleration of aging. We want our bodies to not degenerate before our time, right? And that's the whole idea here. So the promise of the hormone really is to do exactly what we want. We don't want accelerated aging. Why should we accelerate before our time? I want to have my body as youthful as possible. It's not that easy. You can't get it out of one pill. So what do we do? Well, I first talk about just being human is a problem. What do I mean by that? Well, see, I say, unfortunately, we as a species are notorious for stressing over things that haven't happened yet, may have happened in the past, and let our imagination convince us that it's real. But we're the only species that do that. So we're unique. We're unique, and it's unique in a very strange way. We're awesome. However, you've got to understand what we're dealing with here. We're operating with an ancient survival-based system, right? One in which the stresses should only be life or death encounters. Because this is I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is a caveman, but he's got a briefcase, right? So he's out there surviving Wall Street or something, right? So he's using his head and his mind and all his intellect. However, his body is used to short-term stresses. It really is programmed, as Carrie alluded to, for very short bursts so he can chase or get away from a threat. Today we're experiencing a different type of stress. Today we're looking at uncertainty as a stress. But our body is reacting to it as if it's a life and death moment. No, it isn't. I mean, there will be elections. Something will happen, but you don't have to worry about it today. That's what we do. We will stress over that. We'll lose it. But that is your hormones running, and they don't stop because they think that election stress should be over in about 5 to 10 minutes, right? And then it's all gone. But it's not. It's really protracted, unfortunately. So our modern mind is thinking. You're chilling. I'm okay. What our body is, so our body is thinking that no matter what you tell it, it's not going to relax. It's either going to be, am I safe? Am I safe? Who's going to track me down, right? So it's quite different. The body, who's going to win with your health care? It's your body's going to win. Not your mind, your intellect, your intelligence, or your bank account. It's what your body is thinking and feeling. All right, so this is a little bit of a long one. See, because our nervous system was evolved to deal with immediate stresses, our body reflexly reacts with drama. Our hormone system reflects this insistence on the immediate resolution of stress, which is rarely possible. So our hormone system is regularly, its system says, okay, there's a lion, something's chasing me, I'm going to die, somebody's going to die, maybe I'll die. That's what your hormone system is trying to match. I feel a threat, someone's going to die, I'll live, or I hope I live, and it just doesn't stop. So the body is stuck in this reflex hormone, and since our modern world is made up mostly of abstract stresses, like who will be the next president, our body has difficulty handling long-term problems. It doesn't understand them. I don't think it ever will. We have to be smart to figure something out, and that's what we're going to do today. Our body puts on hold long-term responsibility projects in order to survive immediate threat. That just means, guess what? It's like if you're in a conflict, if you're running from a lion, everything will shut down that's not necessary. So you don't really have to digest food. Your immune system isn't going to be looking for bacteria. It's trying to run for its life, so it pushes sugar and oxygen and heart rates up so you can survive threat that's coming at you. That's understandable. But guess what happens to the regular stuff, the home housekeeping? House cleaning is put on the back burner and body toxins accumulate, leading to liver congestion. what Carrie was leading to. You can't have liver function doing its detoxing while you're trying to escape that lion. Never happens. But it never ever changes. Your hormone system is not set up for that, so it's going to constantly try to do what it was used to, and it gets things that are sort of tangled up. Congestion. Consequently, hormonal balances created by modern world chronic stresses are almost normal today. So unfortunately, we sort of expect to have these midlife crises and menopause and male and female menopauses, right? So the hormonal systems on every modern society tend to be a problem. And again, this is caused by the congestion that's set up by that stress response. So, and what is the center of stress response? It's the hormone system. It's all hormone system. It's the adrenals. So what we're going to do is look over some basics. Let's just say who are the players. I put everything as, this is the survival adrenal hormones. This is survival hormones. The first one, good cortisol. Good cortisol, it is our first major shock absorber hormone. What that means is during stress or a threat, it's able to respond. It keeps you safe. Its cortisol pumps up when you need it. It backs off when you don't need it. It's powerful, sending all these messages that need to happen. Everything from maintaining normal body function during stress, keeps glucose available for energy. It keeps you a happy camper. You're powerful because of cortisol. That's the good part of it. When things go wrong, sideways or upside down, chronic stress creates obesity, heart disease, diabetes, immune failure, depression, sexual dysfunction. All of the bad things that you don't want in your world is linked to the level of cortisol in your system. That's why in the lab tests we do test for that, of course. It's the major player. We want to see what that guy is doing in response to your particular life. And of course, the other survival hormone is for adrenals is adrenaline, the epinephrines. So, this is your fight or flight response. It's essential. You need it. Life, dealing with challenges, it's good, necessary. But when it's bad, what happens? Well, the chronic stress turns the adrenal into a heart problem where you have overpressure. You elevate your heart pressure. You have stroke risk, heart disease, anxiety, and depression when you have excessive or out of balance adrenaline in your system, sympathetic responses, things like that, which is very common because we're dealing with chronic stresses that the body is not familiar with. Sex hormones. Now, understand the sex hormones, and this is just the basics for folks. So the survival hormones aren't sex hormones, but they are parenting. Then they determine what the sex hormones are going to play out. The sex hormones are probably what you're familiar with, like with estrogen, for example. This is the primary female sex hormone, regulation of reproductive system, secondary sex characteristics, etc. And it's good because it makes women women and it runs their body. The bad estrogen, the chronic stress leads to tumor formation, things like that. Oh my gosh, and then you'll have bad news about what levels of estrogen would do as far as proliferation of tumors and much more than that. It's not so much a bad estrogen. I do this to just be sort of playful, understanding that when things get out of range, they can turn against you. The testosterone, primary male sex hormone, development of male reproductive, muscle growth, hair, etc. The bad testosterone, this is a note to the men that if you're not aware of, this is what happens, and I tell you this, you'll say, oh, I've seen it. Watch this. So the chronic stress in a bad testosterone situation, chronic stress converts testosterone. It'll convert it to either an adrenal stress hormone, like a cortisol, or converts it to estrogen. What does that mean? That means as the stressed men age, they turn women. No, they do. They do. They do. You'll see it. The fat distribution. I don't know like that. But it's like, this is how they can flip back and forth. They're so interchangeable, but they flip when they're stressed. So men turn into women when they're stressed. We don't want them. Men want to be men forever. Come on. Yeah? Progesterone. So this is the female hormone, prepares uterus for fertilization, so the cycles. At a lab level, needs to be 40 to 150 times more progesterone than estrogen in the saliva. So they do saliva testing with this lab, which was fantastic. And they really, not only do they look at the levels, but they do it in relationships to each other. They pair the hormones. So you've got to do it. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking at, right? The bad progesterone, chronic stress creates deficiency in hormonal dysregulation. So everything good when it's a beautiful sunny day, of course. But we're not dealing with that anymore. That's why we're here. We're saying, hey, what could go wrong? Why does it go wrong? How can we change it? The DHEA, one of my favorites, of course. This is the mother of all the hormones, they say. Another shock absorber of stress. That means if you had a terrible day or a terrible year, you want to be on something like a DHEA. It really helps you feel solid again. It does all those right things, puts the pathways back to where they should be, that kind of idea. So it's a great one. I found it hard to sort of like find really bad things about it, other than it just leads to more hormone imbalance the lower the DHEAs get, right? So in a way, the DHEA and the cortisol, they sort of pair opposite, where if you have high stress, you want to raise your DHEA to bring it back down to excessive cortisol, things like that. So, one of the great things about working with the lab is that not every doctor is going to go through or has the time or expertise to go through all the details to find out your exact numbers, to do all that reporting to say, this is where you are, and this is what you need to do because of your basic hormone messages are skewed in this way. And not an MD, no matter, you have to go to a lab, that's what they do. And it's not a bad idea, as we'll get into this. Pregnenolone's parent to the DHEA, it's famous for brain power and cognition. This is a problem. So the chronic stress or a bad pregnenolone, what creates, it's called a pregnenolone steal. Pregnenolone steal is where the mother of it's a parent actually to the DHEA. Under stress, even pregnenolone pushes everything toward cortisol. It changes again. It is so upsetting to have high levels of cortisol. Cortisol is going to be there when something is wrong in your life. The problem is worrying about something that could happen years from now. That's still an ongoing chronic stressor that your system will feel, and to start pushing cortisol all the time, worrying about things that haven't happened. So, it sounds like we're talking about relaxing and yoga. Sort of. But I wish it was that simple. Okay, so it sounds like the hormones are very important, and they really are. They're vulnerable to stress. And what can I do to optimize them? What we mentioned just now is the hormone therapy. What I've experienced after 30 years in practice is that there's a lot of health conditions, and this is what we're talking about with Greg. There are a lot of conditions that are actually anchored in your body due to patterns of hormones that won't let you get through that. And you won't even notice them being hormonal. It'll be just a health issue that's stuck and very resistant to change. Being a chiropractor, I do body work, I do lots of things, but sometimes that patient's not moving. It's stuck in this rut. So even if you change the diets, and the exercise, sometimes that person may, let's take a look at what your hormones are doing, because they're biggest players, right? And when it comes to that, I've seen it more often now than ever. You want to go with a lab that will do the individual. So I'm really happy that we found ENA to do that specificity and do the saliva. So what I suggest is here, you want to form a plan to manage your lifestyle. So we begin to restore your personal hormone balance by using state-of-the-art natural hormone therapy by ENA Sciences, because it's a fantastic lab, and they do a great personal job. They do their work as specific as I do mine. I like what I do because I'm very specific, and this lab is just that picky, right? And the other thing, like we mentioned earlier in the slides, is I take Enterprime daily. I don't want to tell you how many though. I take both capsules and powder, but I'm always carrying a capsule bottle around with me because it's that important I live today, there's lots of toxins out here, and I've got plenty of stress. So I'm constantly taking those things. Because if I don't want to imagine where my health would be if I didn't have that liver functioning. I don't blame bad things. I don't say I've got a bad liver or a bad this. I say, hey, I've accumulated life. My body is stressing because of things that happened to me. So as I work through, I want to keep everything clean. So detoxification would be the second step I would do. So the individual testing to find out where your numbers are, what your ratios are, would be first. The second thing would be the liver has to start opening up again. And that's what I use for my liver kidneys. The adrenal support, of course, as we know, stress will just push those adrenals and they get very weak, and there's all kinds of support that we can do. The brain support, of course, with the DHEA. The meditation is just a lifestyle thing. You all have to do your own, obviously. But if you look at the rate or the order of priority, I really do. These things are such strong players. I want you to consider doing that. And even for things that you wouldn't think would be hormone related. Any kind of illness, anything that's not coming out, things like that, any resistant chronic problem, it's quite amazing. And of course, the dancing, of course, I got to throw those good fun things in because that puts in the good hormones. Why? Because it's fun. I mean, your body is typically one of the things I want to leave you with is that your body, no matter how you think you're having a good time, there's probably a part of your body that's under stress in the background. And I think it'd be okay if we had a regular shake or dance or just relax on a regular basis to combat a constant onslaught of some of these powerful negative hormones being stuck in this pattern of, oh my gosh, I'm going to beat this lion, I'm going to fight this, that kind of idea. So it's ongoing. It's not like, hey, I want to introduce some fun to my life. I want you to think, hey, no, my body's constantly stressing all the time because that's what it does. And for me to move forward, I'm going to have to deal with it even though I feel fine. That's crazy. You can't know how, it's like knowing what your blood pressure is or what your labs are going to be on a hormone. It's like it's doing a lot of things behind the scenes you're not really aware of. And it's perfectly okay to check those things because they're probably going to be stress related given the world we live in today. I love the world. It's just saying this body just so sensitive to it. It's okay to start changing those things. And the easiest way to do it, as far as I can see, is using the hormones that your body listens to and just putting in different amounts. Okay, thank you very much. I'll take questions after.
What's a QCH?
Oh, you busted me. That's me. That's my company.
Oh.
Quantum Connective Healing.
That's pretty stressful.
No, this is the corrections. This is the help. How do you do it? You do all these things. Oh, Carrie, are you saying that my work is stressful?
Yeah.
I just had a treatment today by my practitioner for an hour, very, very short burst, but it was over, just like the body's used to. It's used to intense stress and then a celebration of life. I survived. All righty, thank you.